Remember when you guys were told not to believe everything you see on the internet? Well, boy, is the topic of today's video one of those things. Now, did any of you lot play Grand Theft Auto? Because I'm guessing a fair amount of you will have, at some point at the very least, been handed a controller and proceeded to cause violent havoc and mayhem in the virtual world of Liberty City or San Andreas. But would you believe me if I told you that this game was partly responsible for propagating one of the biggest myths about sharks ever? Well, join me today as we look at the Grand Theft Auto game responsible, the particular shark myth in question, and how it had some young men legitimately searching for a shark product on the internet to help them get shredded. Welcome back to another Shark Bytes episode, everyone. Now, because a lie or a falsity always seems to spread faster, farther, and deeper than the truth, shark myths on the internet tend to spread like wildfire. And believe me, there's a lot of shark myths out there, with some of them undoubtedly being more harmful than others. Like, we joke here on the channel about the Megalodon still alive myth, and while it defies all scientific reasoning and logic to believe it, it doesn't really tend to harm sharks or people by believing in that myth. Although it definitely harms my brain cells. Other shark myths out there can actually be quite harmful though. For example, the one where people say that sharks don't get cancer, popularized by the 1992 book of the same name, which claimed that shark cartilage was an effective treatment for various human cancers and other conditions. Of course, this is nonsense, as there's a hatful of evidence for cancer within different shark species, and there is precisely zero evidence that shark cartilage is an effective treatment for cancer. But that didn't really stop the alternative medicines market from creating a supply and demand issue where sharks are slaughtered for their cartilage, which is then flogged to desperate people fighting to stay alive all around the world. Shark cartilage is still available today, by the way, despite it never being clinically proven as an effective human supplement. So there's myths out there that can hurt sharks, but there's also myths out there that can hurt both sharks and people. None more so than the shark myth propagated by probably one of the most widely played video games ever. Grand Theft Auto as a series has sold nearly 450 million units worldwide, making it one of the most successful video game franchises to ever exist. And while it's popular with both males and females, a clear majority of its player base are males, particularly teenage males, despite it being rated as an 18+ game. Just from personal experience, I definitely jumped on one of my friend's consoles and played Grand Theft Auto when I was about 13 or 14, and I bet I'm not alone in that experience. Of course, I'm not here to point the finger at Rockstar Games and the highly mature content featured in the game, but I'm trying to paint a bit of a picture for you here as to the demographic of its player base, which historically, and probably still to this day, is young teenage boys, a pretty impressionable age demographic, I'd say. Anyway, all the way back in 2008, Rockstar Games released their fourth installment of the franchise, GTA 4. GTA 4 follows Eastern European immigrant Niko Bellic, who comes to Liberty City to escape his checkered past and to find the person who betrayed his military unit during the Yugoslav wars. As the game progresses and more characters are introduced, Niko meets car entrepreneur and fitness enthusiast Brucey Kibbutz. Brucey's portrayed as this egotistical, self-centered and impulsive guy who enjoys a lavish lifestyle in the city. Although it's his fitness and lifestyle choices as to where our shark myth begins. Brucey occasionally mentions to Niko that when he was younger, he was once upon a time a fat loser who no girl would want to date. As he got older, Brucey began to indulge in what he calls juicing, which involves injecting testosterone, allegedly harvested from the testicles of Chilean bull sharks. Here, have a listen.
Sorry, I'm just juicing. Makes me a little pent up.
Juicing?
Yeah. Bull shark testosterone, amigo. Ordered online from Chile.
Also, on his in-game website, Brucey's bull shark testosterone has this description here, which says, "It's well known from numerous experts on the internet that bull sharks have more testosterone than any animal on the planet. And now, like what shark fin soup did to the longevity of people in Asia, bull shark testosterone takes the supplement game to the next level and makes you an apex predator. Boom. Bull sharks are fierce and insanely violent because of high levels of testosterone." And some of the advantages he lists on the website include ripped muscles, blinding rage, ability to consume 10,000 calories a day, and incomprehensible sexual arousal towards inappropriate things. We're coming back to it, guys, don't worry. Initially, this bull shark testosterone was just a fictional item used by Brucey in GTA 4, but then when GTA 5 was released in 2013, the product became an actual in-game feature that could be used by players. After taking the bull shark testosterone, it would temporarily boost in-game strength and reflexes, giving players a short-term roid rage effect, increasing damage dealt from both weapons and fists, while halving damage taken. Basically, it's a pretty handy thing to have when you're in a tricky spot. And so with its introduction into GTA 5, the concept of of bull shark testosterone spread to even more people. Remember earlier when I told you that the entire Grand Theft Auto franchise had sold over 450 million copies? Well, nearly half of that number was from sales of GTA 5. So you can imagine then the number of people, especially young teenage boys, who were exposed to the idea of this performance-enhancing supplement and who might have been curious as to whether it was a real thing that they could get their hands on. Almost immediately, shady internet companies capitalized on the curiosity, and the market was flooded with rebranded male enhancement products that now had bull shark names or shark-based logos to try and rake in the cash. Back then, even I can remember rumors circulating all over the internet that bull shark testosterone could add pounds and pounds of muscle to your body in the gym while also curing erectile dysfunction. But those new shark enhancement products that were being sold on the internet were no different to what they'd been for years. Combination of plants like horny goat weed or bark from African trees or sea cucumber extract, whatever they could convince people to chuck down their throats. And that was the problem. People were being convinced to the detriment of their own health. Side effects for some of these shark branded enhancement pills were things like headaches, nausea, back pain, problems with vision, indigestion, but some of the side effects were even worse than those. An outbreak of severe hypoglycemia in 17 men from Virginia after ingesting a male enhancing supplement was discovered by the Virginia Poison Center. Severe hypoglycemia is absolutely life-threatening if left untreated, so you can see it was having a pretty negative impact on people. All from something that was a complete myth, a fallacy, didn't exist. Now, GTA admittedly can't take all of the blame for this, which we'll get onto in a second, but they can definitely take part of it. The first of which is the notion of a Chilean bull shark. It sounds like a real thing, right? Except the only problem with that is that there has never been a report of a bull shark in Chilean waters, ever. Not one. Bull sharks are, of course, a tropical/subtropical shark species who like to live in waters between about 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. That's about 70 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit-ish. But bull sharks have been found off the Pacific coast of Peru before, so what's stopping them popping down to neighboring Chile? Well, it's thought that the bull shark range is pretty much restricted to the northern section of Peru and nothing south of there. And that's because the Humboldt Current, renowned for its cold temperatures, pushes up from Antarctica and flows north along the western coast of South America, all past Chile and most of Peru. Essentially, it's just too cold for them in this part of the world. So Chilean bull sharks as a start, not a thing. But what about those testosterone levels? Now, to be fair to GTA, I don't think they can be held responsible for starting this part of the myth. They definitely propagated it to millions of people, but they didn't start it. That particular accolade goes to Rasmussen and Gruber back in the early 1990s. And yes, that Gruber there is the late Sam Gruber, affectionately known as Doc in the shark science world, who was a leading authority on shark behavior and physiology before his death in 2019. Anyway, Rasmussen and Gruber published a research paper back in 1990 looking at steroid hormones in various different shark species. From the study, testosterone levels in lemon sharks, sandbars, blacktips, and hammerheads range from 23 to 78.5 nanograms per milliliter. But one bull shark in the study had a whopping 358 nanograms per milliliter, which they directly compare with breeding turtles, bats, and African bull elephants, all of which are trumped by this single adult male bull shark. But that right there is one of the problems here. That is a single individual, so the sample size is pretty low. But what makes it even more skeptical is that their actual sample size for adult male bull sharks in this particular study was 2. And that other individual that they sampled had a testosterone level of 2.7 nanograms per milliliter. Barely anything. To give you an idea of how much testosterone that actually is, if you're a guy watching this video right now, on average, you'll likely have more testosterone at any one point in time flowing around your body than that bull shark. So a couple of years later, another study was done that included 2 captive bull sharks who only clocked in between a measly 10 and 20 nanograms per milliliter. Although it did include a few wild bull sharks in that study who averaged 185 nanograms per milliliter, and they were sampled right before the breeding season. So you can see these numbers are just all over the place. We've got 2.7 all the way up to 358 and everything in between. So it shows us there's clearly a massive fluctuation not only between the time of season, but also between individuals as well. But if we throw some other species into the mix though, it gets even more confusing. Bonnethead sharks have shown maximum testosterone levels of 303 nanograms per milliliter, and then male rainbow trout have similar levels as those bonnetheads too. Now, nothing is going to take away from that one individual bull shark having some crazy high levels of testosterone pumping around in its blood, but it isn't quite enough for us to conclude that all bull sharks have the highest testosterone levels in vertebrate animals. I do find it interesting in that Rasmussen and Gruber study that they do a little bit of discussion about the individual that had very high testosterone, but completely fail to mention anything about the other another individual that was over 100 times lower. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing shade on Sam Gruber here. The guy is an absolute legend in the shark science world, responsible for massively advancing our understanding of these animals. And I'm sure the testosterone level in that bull shark was the correct measurement for that individual, which would place it very high up in the animal kingdom. But perhaps expanding that out to all bull sharks was maybe a bit of a stretch. And it seems to be this study where it all originates from, where everyone seems to get that high testosterone information from, but they all fail to mention that low sample size and the other bull shark. You can't just pick and choose individual data points and create a fact from that data point. That's just not how science works. Thinking about it now though, one of the major problems circulating around bull shark testosterone and using it to help you get jacked in the gym or help you out in the bedroom is how you'd actually take it. Lots of these supplement products were in pill form, but the actual testosterone that's in the bull shark was in their blood. So unless you're ingesting a tablet that's full of bull shark blood, you're not actually getting the testosterone levels that you think you're getting. Hell, we don't even definitely know whether it's testosterone that gives the bull shark its aggressive reputation. It could be a whole bunch of things like habitat, personality, diet. I'd say there's no denying though that GTA definitely popularized this myth, and still to this day, there's people repeating it on the internet as if it was fact. And you can bet there's probably still people on the internet buying those shark enhancement supplements because of it as well. Just remember guys, even though the internet might say so, bull sharks aren't going to help you out down there. They are, however, an absolutely extraordinary shark capable of doing some insane things. I always think about those ones that lived in that golf course pond in Australia for years. What, you've not heard about that one before? Well, fortunately for you guys, I made a video about it here. The bull sharks that lived on that golf course broke all known records for how long we thought they could survive in fresh water. And if you want to know exactly how long that is, make sure you give this video a click.